Okay, magandang umaga sa ating lahat, mga estudyante sa STEM 11. Ngayon, araw na ito, ating tatalakayin ang tungkol sa ellipse. Pag-usapan din natin ang kanyang geometric definition, ganun din ang standard equation at sa kanyang general equation. Okay? Para hindi tayo magtagal, umpisan na po natin. So the equation of an ellipse that is centered at the origin of the xy plane with major axis parallel to the x-axis is, ito yun. Okay? Ito yung equation ng ellipse na ang kanyang sentro ay nasa origin. Okay? At yung kanyang major axis ay parallel sa x-axis. Pag sinabing major axis, dito kasi sa ellipse meron tayong dalawang axis na sinasabi. Major axis at saka minor axis. Para mabilisan tayo, ang major axis, yun yung from quadrant point to another quadrant point na kung saan yung pinakamahabang line segment extending from one quadrant point to another quadrant point. Okay, so madalas ito ay point B2. From point B1 to point B2, that is the major axis. At makikita natin ang major axis niya ay parallel o parehas siya ng direksyon sa x-axis. Okay? Burahin natin ito. Ayan. So, meron din tayong tinatawag na minor axis. Yun naman yung line segment extending from quadrant point W1 to quadrant point W2. Ito yun. So, that is the minor axis. From the word itself, pag minor, mas maiksi. Pag major, mas malaki or mas mahaba. Okay? So, pag-usapan natin, ano yung mga variables dito? Paano nagre-reflect yung equation ng ellipse doon sa kanyang geometric? Mahalaga na matukoy natin yan. Okay, dito sa equation ng ellipse, merong condition dito. Inequality condition. Ang ibig sabihin yan is yung line segment A or yung A ay mas malaki sa B. Ito yung A, ito yung B. So, dito sa kanyang geometric representation, yung A ay siya yung line segment extending from the center to the quadrant point or to the vertex V1. Okay? So, yan yung haba ng A. Yung B naman dito, sa equation natin, yun yung point or line segment extending from center of our ellipse patungo dito sa quadrant point or vertex W1. Okay? So, yun. Mapapansin natin, yung ating equation, sabi dito is major axis parallel to the x-axis. Kung saan yung x-axis, kung nasaan yung kanyang major axis, okay? Kung saan yung A, makikita natin dito na kapag yung major axis is x, nandoon yung line segment or kalahati ng major axis natin. Nandito siya sa denominator ng term na ito. Okay? Mamaya pag-usapan natin yung detalye ng bagay na yan. Okay? So, ganun yan. Ibig sabihin yan, yung major axis ng ellipse, malalaman natin yung kanyang major axis kung alam natin yung value ng A at saka B. Kung yung A natin ay mas malaki kaysa sa B, okay, yun yung A, ito naman yung kanyang, okay, yung major axis ay parallel or parehas sila ng direksyon dito sa x-axis. So, ganun yun. Yung B naman, dahil sa mas maliit, okay, doon mo naman makikita yung yung minor axis ng ellipse at yun ay parallel naman siya sa y-axis. Okay? Ganun. So, note that A in the equation, dito sa equation natin, corresponds to the length of the line segment of V1. Yung A, ito yon. Yung B naman, ito yon. Okay. Ibig sabihin, madali na lang natin i-graph yung ellipse pagka meron tayong na-encounter na equation ng ellipse by determining or by identifying the value of A and B, and then comparing the two, we can determine kung alin sa kanila, alin yung major axis at minor axis ng ating ellipse. Okay? Dito tayo. The ellipse that is centered at the origin is symmetrical about x-axis and y-axis. Pag-usapan natin yung statement na yan. Ito yung ating ellipse. Okay? Yan yung ating ellipse. Yung kanyang, yung itsura ng ellipse na ito ay symmetrical siya about the x-axis. Kasi yung kalahati ng ating ellipse na mayroong sentro at the origin, yung kalahati niya, this curve, is an exact replica of the curve below the origin or below the center of our ellipse. Meaning yung ellipse natin ay symmetrical siya about the x-axis. So that is the meaning of the statement. At the same time, our ellipse, okay, is symmetrical about the y-axis. So, ang ibig sabihin yan, yung curve dito sa right ng ating y-axis, okay, is exact replica of the curve at the left axis or left of the y-axis. So, yun ang ibig sabihin ng statement na yan. Okay? So, napakahalaga na malaman natin yung concept nito kasi in solving ellipse or problem involving ellipse, tinatanong yan, yung mga parameters na yan o yung mga geometric concepts na mga yan. So, meaning the curve of the ellipse at the right of the origin is an exact mirror of its curve. Exact mirror of its curve. Okay? At the left of the origin. Also, the curve of the ellipse above the origin is an exact replica of its curve below the origin. Okay? Ellipse has two axes. Ito na yan. So, ang ellipse ay meron siyang dalawang axis. Ang tawag dyan ay major axis at saka minor axis. Madalas ito ay line segment. These two axes are represented by line segments. Example, major axis here in our graph of the ellipse. So, the major axis is the line segment extending from point or quadrant point B1 to quadrant point B2. Okay, from B1 to B2. This is our major axis. Okay, major axis. Ayan. Oops. Basta yun na yun. So, how about the minor axis? So, minor axis is also represented by line segment extending from quadrant point W1 to point W2. So this represents the minor axis. Okay, siya yun. And based from these two based from this equation, mapapansin natin na ang major axis is twice the value of A. Dalawang beses na A. A din kasi yan. From this point to the center, that is also A. From the center to this point, that is also A. So, pag pinagsama natin yan, that is 2A. Asa na? Ito yun, 2A. Ganon din yung minor axis. It is equal to 2 times the V. Okay, dalawang beses na B. Isa, meron ding B dito sa baba. Pag pinagsama natin yan, that is our minor axis and it is equal to 2 times B. So if the equation of the ellipse is written as, okay, pag ganito naman, yung pagkakasulat ng ellipse, at meron siyang inequality condition dyan, A is equal to B. Pasensya na, medyo magulo dito sa environment ko. Medyo maingay. Sinikap ko lang talagang gawin itong video nito para matulungan yung mga estudyante natin sa STEM 11, sa pre-calculus. Okay, balik tayo. So, mapapansin natin na yung A ay mas malaki sa B. Ito yung, may kulang ito. A square yan. Ito yung A natin. At yung A natin, mas malaki kaysa sa B, ay dito sa taas ng equation ay merong y square. Ibig sabihin, yung major axis ng ellipse na ito ay parallel. Okay, pag sinabing parallel, para sila ng direksyon. Parallel siya sa y axis. Okay, tingnan natin itong ellipse natin. Ito yung ellipse natin. Makikita natin from quadrant point W1 to point W2, mapapansin natin na mas mahaba yung line segment extending from W1 to W2 kumpara dun sa line segment extending from quadrant point B1 papunta ng quadrant point B2. Ibig sabihin, ito yung kanyang major axis. Okay? Parallel yung kanyang major axis dito sa y-axis ng ating xy plane. So, ganun ang corresponding relationship ng equation at saka yung geometric representation nito. Ganun pa rin, ang minor axis is equal to 2 times B. Okay, 2 times B. Ito yung B. B din yan. So, dalawang beses na B, that is our minor axis. Major axis, 2 times A. A ito. A din dito sa baba. Yung haba niyan is 2A. Yan yung major axis natin. Okay? So, sketch the ellipse. The ellipse, okay, alisin natin yan. Wrong grammar. Sketch the ellipse. The ellipse has a major axis along the x-axis. Okay, yung major axis daw ng ellipse ay parallel siya o kaya along the x-axis. Ibig sabihin, nandoon yung major axis niya. Yung A niya is 8 at saka yung B niya ay 5. Write also the equation of the ellipse. Solution. So, ang equation ng ellipse, napapansin natin ito yun. Okay? Yan. Mapapansin natin na yung kanyang A ay, yung A is greater than B. This is 8 greater than 5. So, ibig sabihin, yung 8 square, nasa ilalim siya o nasa denominator siya ng x square. Kasi nga yung major axis niya ay parallel sa x-axis gaya ng nabanggit na condition sa statement. So, ibig sabihin yan, ang maging equation yan is x square over 8 square plus y square over 5 square is equal to 1. Okay? So, pag i-graph natin yan, ano bang sabi dito? Well, so ang sentro ng ating ellipse ay nasa origin, nasa 0, 0. Okay? Take note, ito yung y-axis natin. Y-axis. Ito naman yung x-axis natin. So take note, mula sentro sa 0, 0, okay, magbibilang ka ng 8 units. Madali lang ito kapag ka nagra-graph ka sa graphing paper. So from the center to the quadrant point B1, that is your A, and that is equivalent to 8. Okay? So from center point to quadrant point W1, that is your B. At yan ay equal siya sa 5 base doon sa given. Okay? And then, okay, mula sa center din, pakaliwa, that is also your A. And from center pababa, that is also your B. Kapag i-graph mo na yan, okay? Okay, medyo tumabingin na. Pag i-graph mo na yan, as accurate as you can, magagawa mo yung ellipse. Okay. So take note that yung tinatawag natin na coordinate ng quadrant point B1, ito yun. That is 8, 0. Bakit? Kasi yung x niya from the center to this point, that is your 8. Yung y niya ay 0. Kasi yung point na ito, it is along the x-axis. Wala siya sa taas, wala siya sa baba. So, nandito lang siya sa x-axis. That is why yung y niya is 0. Ganon din yung quadrant point B2. Nga lang, negative 8. So, from the center to the left of 0, that is negative 8. Yung y naman niya is 0. That is why ito yung coordinate ng quadrant point B2. Yung quadrant point W naman, that is 0, 5. Paano nangyaring naging 0, 5? Okay. Ito yung point. Yung point na yan, hindi siya kumanan or kumaliwa. It is along the y-axis. That is why yung kanyang abscissa or yung kanyang distance from the x or from the y-axis is 0. Ito naman yung kanyang ordinate 5. The distance from the x-axis is 5. Okay. So our major axis here is 16. Twice the A or 2 times A, which is 8. That is 16 units. Mula dito hanggang doon, that is 18 units. Minor axis natin, mula point W1 to point W2, that is 2 times 5, 10 units. Okay? So, sketch the ellipse. Okay, so the ellipse has a major axis along y-axis. Ibig sabihin, okay, pag titignan natin yung graph, ito yun. Ibig sabihin, yung kanyang major axis is parallel to the y-axis. Ayan, parallel. Ngayon, yung kanyang A is 12, yung kanyang B naman ay 3. Okay, ibig sabihin yan, from the center to the quadrant point W1, okay, is equal to 12. Ito kasi yung A niya. So from center to quadrant point B1, that is equivalent to 3. Yan yung kanyang B. Okay. At mapapansin natin, yung 12 square, nandito siya sa denominator nitong term na ito. At mapapansin natin yung kanyang numerator ay y square. Ibig sabihin nito, kung saan yung A, nandoon yung kanyang major axis, which is dito sa problem na ito, sa activity na ito, that is along y-axis. Okay. At automatic, ito na yung kanyang magsisilbing yung axis ng minor axis ay parallel siya sa x-axis. Okay? Okay, pag na-graph mo na yan, okay, ito pala. Si-simplify mo itong equation na ito. Okay? Into this one. 3 times 3 magiging 9. 12 times 4, 12 times 12 magiging 144. Okay, mamaya pag-usapan natin kung saan galing itong kung paano nag-derive itong equation ng ellipse. Okay? Derivation of the equation of the ellipse. Okay, para maintindihan natin yung derivation, ipapaliwanag ko muna ito. May mga parts itong ellipse kasi. From center, okay, from center, gamit tayo ng ibang kulay. Yung halata yan, violet na lang. So from center to the quadrant point B1, so ang ginagamit dyan na variable ay A. Okay. So from center again to focused point F1, ang ginagamit dyan na variable ay C. From center to this line, ang tawag kasi dyan ay directrix line. Itong line na yan, that is the directrix line. Okay. So, ang ginagamit dyan na variable is D. Yan, kasi mamaya magagamit natin yung mga variable na yan para ipaliwanag yung pagbuo o pag-derive ng equation ng ellipse. Okay? Clear muna natin para hindi magulo. So, okay, eccentricity of the ellipse. Kung pinag-usapan natin ang conic section, merong tinatawag na eccentricity. Okay? Sa ellipse, ang eccentricity niya, para mabilisan tayo, is less than 1. Ano ba itong eccentricity na ito? Okay. Bago tayo pupunta doon, okay, i-analyze muna natin itong geometry ng ellipse. So the distance between point P, nasan yung point P natin? Yung point P natin nandito sa point B1. Okay. And the focused, ito yung focused, is equal to A minus C daw. So, yung distance mula dito hanggang dyan sa focus, that is A minus C daw. So, ito yung A mula dyan. Okay. Ibawas mo ito. Okay. So, ang matitira is ito. Yung distance na yan. So, which is correct. Okay, clear natin. Correct yung ating analysis. So, line segment F1P mula sa focus 1 hanggang sa point P. Okay, ito yung line segment na ito nga lang. Ang pagkakasulat ko ay line naman na. Okay. So, yung line segment na yan, that is A minus C. Okay. And then, the distance between point P and the directrix line D1, ito yung directrix line D1 natin. Yung distance lang niya mula dito papunta dyan is equivalent to D, ito yon minus A. Okay. Yun yung distance ng line segment B1 to D1 or point P to point D1. Yan yung equation natin. So, yung ratio ng A minus C, ratio nito at saka nito, okay, that is equivalent to eccentricity. So, eccentricity is equal to A minus C divided by D minus A. Okay. At mapapansin natin dito na ang D minus A ay mas malaki, this distance ay mas mahaba kaysa sa this distance. Ibig sabihin, pag mas maliit ang A minus C, mas malaki ang D minus A. Pag kinuha natin yung kanilang quotient, yung lalabas dito na value ng A is less than 1. Yun ang ibig sabihin nito. Itong inequality na yan. Okay, next slide. Tutuloy natin. So, eccentricity of the ellipse. Okay. So, A minus C is equal to E D minus A. So, saan galing yan? Saan galing yan? Okay. So, galing yan sa equation natin na nauna dun sa unang slide. So, A minus C divided by D minus A kasi yun ay E. Pag i-process natin yan using algebraic manipulation, ito yung makukuha natin, equation 1. Okay? And then, pagka i-transpose, i-distribute natin yan using distributive property of multiplication. Ito yung lalabas na equation 1. Okay. And then, the distance between P, again, between P, point P, ito yun. And focus 2, saan ba yung focus 2? This one. Yung distance daw niyan, mula dito hanggang doon, ay equal siya sa A minus A negative. Why A negative? Kasi from center to, C negative to this point that is negative C. So, A minus negative C, ang lalabas dyan ay A plus C. Ito yun. Ito yan. Okay? So, again, the distance between point P, mula dyan hanggang doon sa directrix na dito, okay, is equivalent to A minus negative D, which is equal to A plus D. Pag kinuha natin yung yung ratio ng dalawang line segment na yan, A plus C divide by A plus D, yun din yung eccentricity na tinatawag. Okay, so meron tayong dalawang equation ng eccentricity. Kanina is A minus C divided by D minus A. And then another equation is A plus C divided by A plus D. Palitan lang natin yung ginamit na symbol. Ngayon, by algebraic manipulation, we can solve A plus C. And then using distributive property of multiplication, makukuha natin itong equation 2. Next slide. Eccentricity of the ellipse. Pag pinagsama natin yung equation 1 at the equation 2 by adding them together. Okay? Equation 1, ito yun. Equation 2, ito yun. Pag in-add natin sila, ito yung magiging resulta. 2A is equal to 2ED. Pag isosolve natin yung D, okay, by dividing both sides by 2E, makukuha natin yung equation 3. So, ano ba yung D? That is the distance from the center to the directrix. Ito yun. So, the D is the length of the line segment from the center of the ellipse to the directrix. Now, subtract equation 1 from equation 2. Okay, so subtract naman natin. So by subtracting equation 1 from equation 2, we come up with this difference. 2c is equal to 2ea. By dividing both sides by 2, magkakancel yung 2, and na-solve natin yung equation ng c. C is equal to the product of eccentricity and the line segment A. Okay, that is equation 4. Nasaan naman yung C dito sa ellipse natin? Ito yun. Okay, that is the distance from the center to the focus. So, ang equation 4, magagamit natin yan para makompute natin yung haba ng line segment from the center to the focus of our ellipse. Dalawa yung ating focus. Okay, ito yung F1 saka F2. Okay. So, next slide. Derivation of the equation of the ellipse. Pag-usapan naman natin ngayon kung paano na-derive itong equation ng ellipse. So, the distance D1, asan ba yung D1? Okay, ito yun. The distance D1 between point P and focus F1. That is the distance D1. Take note, yung point P natin dito, meron na siyang coordinate. Generally, ang ginagamit na point abscissa and ordinate is xy. General point P. Hindi naka-specify yung value ng abscissa at saka value ng ordinate. Okay. Yung coordinate naman ng focused is C0. From origin to the focus, that is the x. So, ang value niya is C. Yung kanyang y, hindi, yung point na to, wala siya sa above, wala siya sa below ng x-axis. That is why yung kanyang ordinate ay 0. Okay. So, makukuha natin yung equation ng D1 or yung itong red, nakikita natin itong red na line segment, that is distance D1 ng ating line segment F1P. Makukuha natin yan gamit ng distance formula. Okay, distance formula. So, paano yung distance formula? So, x minus c, ito yon. So, may square plus y minus yung y dito, that is 0. So, ito yon. By expanding this square of binomial, take note, c, gaya ng na-derive natin sa noong yung previous slide, is c is equal to EA. Sinubstitute na siya dyan. So, pag i-expand natin itong square of binomial na ito yung kalalabasan. Okay, y minus 0, that is also y square. Ito siya ngayon. Siya rin yun. So, that is our equation 5. D1 square is equal to this expression. Okay. Tutuloy natin. Distance dito naman. Nasaan naman yung distance dito? Yung distance dito, mula dito sa point P hanggang dito sa directrix line. So, that is distance D2. Paano naman natin yan makukuha? So, ang distance dito daw, base dito sa equation, that is D minus X. Bakit? Ito kasi yung D. Pag ibabawas mo yung X, okay, yan yung X. Ano ba yung X? Yun yung abscissa ng point. Pag ibabawas mo, ang matitira, yung distance na yan. From point P to the directrix line. So, tama yung equation. Pag in-square natin yan, take note, yung D, base doon sa na-derive natin sa previous slide, D is equal to A minus A over E. Yan yan. If we're going to square this binomial, okay, i-square natin siya, makukuha natin itong perfect square trinomial na ito. At yan yung equation ng D2 square. specify natin as equation 6. Ngayon, pag kinuha natin yung ratio ng equation 6, yung equation D1, saka yung over yung equation ng D2, yun din yung eccentricity. Okay? So, D1 over D2 is equal to E. Okay? And by multiplying both sides by D2, ito yung magiging equation natin. Pag in-square natin kabilaan, i-square din natin itong D1 at saka E D2. Ito yung magiging equation natin. Okay? And D1, itong D1 na yan, siya rin yung equation 5. At saka yung D2 dito, siya yung equation 6. So, substitute natin. So, ito yung magiging equation natin. From this equation, we can derive now the equation of the ellipse. Okay? Derivation of the equation of the ellipse. So, based from the previous slide, ito yung equation. Okay, ito yung equation from previous slide. By manipulating this equation algebraically, okay, ito yung magiging result. Pag-aralan nyo na lang yung algebraic procedure dyan. So, equation 7. Tutuloy natin dito. So, let b square is equal to a square, open parenthesis, 1 minus e square, close parenthesis. Ano yan? Ito yun, yung nasa denominator ng y square. Okay, gagamit tayo ng variable na b square to represent this expression. Pag ginawa natin yon, makukuha na natin yung general equation ng ellipse. This one, equation 8. At yan, na-derive na natin. Alam na natin kung saan nanggaling yung equation ng ellipse. Maaari niyong ulit-ulitin yung paliwanag dito sa video nito para maintindihan natin ng maayos. Okay? Good day po sa atin lahat. Tutuloy natin, magbibigay pa ako ng mga video patungkol sa ellipse, problem solving about ellipse sa mga susunod natin na presentation.